Morning, everybody. I love our tune composed by Simon Mogul of the New School. I'm Rebecca Friedman, the director of the Wolfsonian Public Humanities Lab at Florida International University. And I am so proud to welcome you here to Coffee and Conversations, telling community stories.
And I'm Julio Capo Jr., the deputy director of the WPHL. Thanks so much for joining us. We're thrilled that you could be here. And we are so thrilled to be here with Makiba Foster of the African American Research Library and Cultural Center, ARLAC.
But before we learn more about ARLAC and the great work that they're doing, a bit of background about our series. Although this is now our fourth season, and actually it's our last and final episode of our fourth season, we started Coffee and Conversations at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic as a way of strengthening community ties and supporting the great work being done throughout South Florida. We've explored topics from how the pandemic has affected museums and cultural institutions, the histories of anti-Blackness in museum spaces and beyond. And we've explored new works in literature with the Miami Book Fair. So please visit our YouTube channel to watch the past episodes. Now with this fourth season, Telling Community Stories, we're highlighting the incredible work of our 8 trusted community partners, including the African American Research Library and Cultural Center. We're embarking on a new journey with them as part of a major grant generously funded by the Mellon Foundation to digitize parts of their one-of-a-kind collections, create new archives through oral history projects, and preserve community stories for generations to come. And we could not be prouder.
We're so excited. Just very briefly before we get into this conversation, which I'm so excited to do, our format is really simple and it lasts about 30 minutes. We're really punctual, which I feel like for me never happens. And we'll ask our guest a few questions, and then we'll take a few questions from the audience. But at any time during this live webinar, just feel free to ask a question below. You can find that button in the bottom of your screen. Today, as I noted, we have the great honor and pleasure of being in conversation with Makiba J. Foster, the regional manager at ARLAC. Welcome. It's so good to see you, Makiba.
Thank you for having me. I must say that music at the beginning, I don't think my camera was on, I don't know, but I was grooving. That was pretty. That was pretty cool. So that's great that you actually have original music composed. I like it.
Okay, I have to tell you, it's my son. I have not said that for 4 seasons, but now I'm saying it because you noted it.
Good job, son. I was grooving with some nice early morning grooves. I was like, this is some great royalty-free music. You know, the whole Facebook and, they'll shut you down. But I like it. Good job.
He's really good. I swear, she and I are talking all the time on the phone, like planning all of the stuff. And I always think it's a recording in the background, but sometimes when he's just visiting, it's actually him just perform. He's really good.
Okay,
he's dying now. Let's move along, people.
All right, Rebecca.
All right, I like music, because it's COVID and I haven't been able to go to concerts and stuff like that. Good music is good music, so important. I like it. Sorry.
No, I'm with you.
It totally threw us off there. Okay, Julio was going to do the format. Have you done the format already? Did we do that?
Yeah, I did. I swear.
We did that already. Okay, perfect. Okay. So it's my turn. Here we go.
Your turn.
It's my turn. Okay. All right. First, here's my first question. Focusing. Too much fun. Can you tell us a little bit about the amazing work that the African American Research Library and Cultural Center does, its history, its relationship to Broward County libraries, and why, which is so obvious, but why the work that you all do is so necessary, which it so certainly is right now. Thank you.
My pleasure to tell you about the work of the African American Research Library and Cultural Center, which becomes a mouthful, so we just use the acronym ARLAC. We are a member of the Broward County Library System, and we are approaching 20 years. So next year will be our 20th anniversary. Okay. We were open in 2002, and our mission is to document, collect, and preserve content about the Black diaspora, particularly also local Black history, as well as the influence of the Caribbean. And so our library is a hybrid of a couple things. We are a library, circulating collection, check out books like any other library, but also we are a special collections archive. So we have the content, the original primary manuscripts, rare books, art and artifacts, things within our special collection. So we treat that as a special collection, reading room, gloves, that kind of experience for original research. And then we also are a cultural center. And so our cultural center is comprised of our museum space, which is a 5,000 square foot museum, as well as our theater space, which is a 300-seat theater that can actually put on fully staged productions, concerts, etc. So we are located in one of the oldest historically Black neighborhoods of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, which is called the Sistrunk community, named after a luminary within the Black community, Dr. James Sistrunk, one of the first Black doctors within this area, established right up the street what was then the only colored, to use a term from back then, hospital for Black people, Provident Hospital. So there is so much history and culture along the Sistrunk corridor that we are happy to be at the end of the corridor as an anchor in terms of information needs and also cultural space and all the things that we do to try to bring value to the community through programming that centers the Black experience. And also just trying, like I said, trying to add value and to establish the idea that since 2002, the idea of Black Lives Matter has always been a part of our mission, and that the stories, the narratives, the content, people, the culture, all of that is important to the work that we're bringing to the community. So that, in kind of like a nutshell, is the work of ARLIC.
It's incredible, such necessary work, and it is such a beacon and anchor of the community and in the space throughout South Florida. Mm-hmm. I want to shift gears a little bit, Makiba, and ask you a bit about how you all are doing during this difficult time. So today we're in major recovery mode, right? Now with the global pandemic of the novel coronavirus. And I wonder how COVID-19 in the past year have impacted you all at ARLIC and the most important work that you all do. What are some of the new challenges and perhaps even some of the triumphs that kind of emerge from what has been such a difficult time? I mean, I feel like so many people have gotten really creative and what does that look like for you all?
So it looks like a lot of things. The uncertainty, like we think about like where we were at last year, it was like, oh my God, it was like afraid, but then being optimistic, oh, this might be over very soon, but that not being the case, but still moving forward with some of the programming. So one of the things that it was our first challenge was programming, in the sense that, I talked a lot about programming earlier and bringing content to the community. It was the shift of figuring out, do we cancel programs or how do we bring them to the people in a virtual platform? And so that was one of our first challenges, was to shift some of our major programs that were coming up for that summer to a virtual program. And so our South Florida Book Festival was switched to a virtual format. That's one of our signature programs that we put on every year, promoting literacy, promoting diverse content by Black authors, about Black content. And so we had to shift. But I want to say that in that shifting of priorities or the ways that we carry out stuff, it was an opportunity. And I think a lot of people have experienced that. The work of the African American Research Library is very important. However, it is one of those libraries that I think should be nationally known, but we're just now at 20 years, so people still don't necessarily know about it. And so with the shift to online programming, and even like with my network and other folks who work here's network, there wasn't the silver lining was that there was an opportunity to reach audiences that we never reached before. Yeah. So Dr. Ramona, who is a part of our adult information services, we've been having a book club discussion, but one of the books that she selected had a audience member for the book club discussion that was in London. So it's kind of great in a way that there's been opportunities to reach people that you normally wouldn't reach. But the other thing is, in terms of shifting, is now that you've started this kind of online program, and the expectation is that you can't go back. You've got to continue to figure out this kind of hybrid in-person as well as online programming. So that's the challenge that we are starting to think about now as we plan for the 20th anniversary. But we've had some wonderful triumphs in this. I think that we come from a people that are resilient and find a way to make a way out of no way. And so in a lot of ways, we've tried to do that. Sometimes it is exhausting and tiring to always have to try to catch up, keep up, and do well. But in this instance, because the way Arlick is situated, thankfully, we have a parking space that has allowed us to do amazing outdoor events. We're still not hosting public events inside. The library is open for services. We're still doing the social distance, mask wearing, but there was an opportunity to use our grounds to host some events. So at the beginning of the year, with the election of President Joe Biden and the first Black woman of Indian, South Asian descent, Caribbean descent, like all the things that Kamala Harris represents, we were able to do an outdoor drive-in inauguration party, just because this was something that we could not pass up as a community. And also, she's my sorority sister. However, it just had to be something that we provided for the community. And so it was a really great event. We got some good coverage from WLRN, and so it was something for the community, that as a way to be able to drive in, watch on these big LED, we had LED screens. It was everything that would allow people to come, feel safe, but also do it in community. So we took that model, did the same thing with a grant that we received regarding one of Broward County's luminaries, leading lady of stage and screen, Esther Roll. She's a part of our archival collection. We were awarded a community foundation, a Broward grant for Art of Community to produce an original play about her life. And we did the same thing with the kind of drive-in, but it was amazing. People were like, this is something that we've never experienced, that you can drive in, dial in on your radio station, look at two LED walls to be able to see the production on stage. It just was it was a really great way to, I'm using a COVIDian word, pivot during this time. So we're very thankful that the community came out and supported, and that we were able to bring this play to life. Even though the challenges of it, we were supposed to do this in November of 2020, which was her centennial birthday. That's why we're doing all this celebration. But we were in the thick of COVID, and so that didn't happen. But we were able to do it during Women's History Month in March, a few weeks ago, to celebrate her contributions to the history of television in terms of representation of Black family, and also just her mark as the daughter of Bahamian immigrants. She was the first child born out of the royal family in the United States. So it's just a lot of intersections that really were really rich and worth celebrating. And I'm happy to say that we're going to bring that play back to our theater where it was originally supposed to be, hopefully next year, when we are back into having in-person programs as a part of our 20th year-long celebration. And so there's a lot of things happening, but it's been up and down, but we've been able to find some highlights and some spots to really continue some of the programs that are important to us to bring to the community.
Thank you. I mean, it just sounds like an incredible amount of work and creativity and energy, and such important work for the community at large. Congratulations.
I just want to say how incredibly excited too I am that it's coming back. Oh my goodness. And then to be in that indoor space is going to be phenomenal. Black Bahamian laborers were so critical to building South Florida, and that history often gets erased entirely from so many different stories, and to kind of see even just the genealogy and the stories that kind of go beyond. I mean, that I'm so excited.
I'm glad you brought that up, because part of the play is about Esther in different parts of her life, in the early part of her as a young woman, growing up in Pompano and the bean fields of Pompano. And so it's a narrative that's in that in the play that deals with that. But just very thankful to be a part of the production. It was written by local playwrights, so all of these great minds. There's so much talent in Broward, and just happy to be able to create a platform for them to be able to bring their creativity. And just another, so some of the challenges of COVID have been that, but we've actually been able to secure grants in a way that support the local community. We just received another Art of Community grant, which is going to start a art and activism fellowship residency program for local artists. And so it'll fall under 5 strategic areas of social injustice and inequity. And so these folks will use their creative medium to speak to those issues, to actually create some critical dialogue for folks to be able to, art in a lot of ways creates avenues of access or conversations that we normally find very challenging to have. And so Art of Community, with this art and activism grant that we've received generously from the Community Foundation of Broward, we'll be tackling some of that again and highlighting the work and talent of local artists.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I see we're joined by Dr. Ramona LaRoche. Hi, Ramona.
Hi, good morning, everybody. How are you? I'm SIC today. I got called away on something else, but how's everybody doing?
You're always on time. That is, every time you arrive is the right time. I just want to briefly say Dr. Ramona LaRoche is a senior librarian and the assistant head of adult information services at the African American Research Library and Cultural Center. Thanks so much we've been talking a little bit about your awesomeness. There was a reference already. I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about the work you do at ARLIC.
Sure. As the assistant head, of course, I'm responsible for adult services, but we also do quite a bit of programming. So I'm really excited because even though in spite of COVID, we've been able to move into a lot of virtual programming. So it's been pretty wide opening. Our expansion of territory, as the prayer Jabez says. And it's kind of nice because we become a little more global. And I'm really excited about some of the relationships that have happened as a result of COVID. So I guess everything has a good part as well. I'm particularly interested in Caribbean connections to the Southeast. My research is actually in Barbados and its connection to Charleston, South Carolina. But now that I've been in South Florida, I have also been looking at Bahamian traditions around burial rites and so forth like that. I'm a graveyard person, which ties into my genealogy. I do genealogy programming here as well. And I also am really interested in archiving LGBTQ AI information. Prior to my coming here, there had not been any programming that we presented as the library. And so we decided to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Stonewall a couple of years ago, and it was a successful program. And Makiba and I had a discussion, and she supported my dream of building an archive here. So as a result, we've started off, we've got a full collection of the Black magazine, which came out of the Los Angeles area. And we also now are working with another community leader who used to have a nonprofit for about 10 years. It was a lesbian group. And they did a lot of programming with our main branch back in the 80s and 90s. So we've been working on that collection. And we also are working with Thou Art Women with G. Muir. And it's just been exciting. Right Muir. I think she uses it sometimes still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm particularly, I'm loving that we got this art grant of recent times. I'm a former art teacher, and I'm real blessed to be working with Makiba. I just think she has a vision extraordinaire. And I always tease her and say she's my illustrious leader. And I feel very blessed to be working with her and to be here in this setting, in this library. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Nice.
We are, I mean, if I can speak for Julio and myself, I think to say we're so honored to work with each of you, both of you, and Arlak. So I think we have lots of, I hope, good work together ahead.
Yes.
I just want to ask another question, if it's okay. Each of you mentioned, of course, COVID and the impact that it's had. And I appreciate Makiba's candor about the ways in which all of the expectations kind of exponentially increase with all of the online programming. That, in other words, it's not going to end. That basically now you have to do everything. That's the kind of expectation moving forward. So I just want to ask each of you, both of you, how our audience, how the community can best support the work, the amazing work that you're continuing to do at Arlak in any capacity. What's the best way to support you?
I think one of the ways that it's helpful for us is, and I know like people are at a threshold in terms of kind of the virtual programming, but at this point, for us, it's to encourage people to still use the library. Also, just if you see something that looks interesting that comes across your feed related to Arlak, helping to share the word. I think one of the things is that just for us, it's the campaign of awareness. We still encounter people in Broward County that are not aware of our presence, and we've been here for almost 20 years. And so for us, it is being an advocate to say, that this work is still important, because people still question I don't know why, but folks are like, people still go to libraries. Yes, people still go to libraries. Everyone does not have a computer in their house. Everyone does not have access to the internet. There are things that we provide that actually, in this digital day and age, sustain people in terms of their kind of quality of life. If you need to complete unemployment forms and all that kind of stuff. And so I would say the best way you can do that is to continue to advocate and help educate people about the importance of libraries, highlight the work of Arlak. Have you ever been to the African American Research Library and Cultural Center? So of course, ideally, I would love for people to come to programs and attend our virtual events. I want all of that. However, I know, like I said, we are like, I can't take another virtual, but maybe put it on the back burner and maybe come back to it later. But if nothing else, just share that this is a library that is doing the work, has been for almost 20 years, and will continue to do the work through support of people who are interested in. And it's not just for Black people, because folks need to know about the American history, which is Black history, to educate themselves. I think if folks were better educated about some of the issues that we're still dealing with and have been dealing with for ages, that we would be in a better place in terms of changing those things and not so much repeating them. So my soapbox, awareness, and all of those things. But if you get a chance to come to a program with us, please do.
May I ask you, just as a follow-up, is there a membership or no? Because you're a county library, there's no actual.
There is. So library cards are free. However, I'll put in a plug for our friends, the African American Research Library. They are our advocate group. They are the folks that help us fundraise to be able to put on the events, because most events at our library are free. So like with the South Florida Book Festival, we were able to secure last year Eddie Glaude. He had just published his book on James Baldwin. It was beautiful. It was right after Representative John Lewis had passed away. So there's a lot of things happening. And so we were able to secure him. He's on MSNBC, so he's not inexpensive, but we were able to secure him through the support of our Friends of Arlick. So Friends of Arlick could always use the manpower, the knowledge, the expertise to bring to bear to help us continue the work of putting on fantastic programming for the entire family. So their membership is anywhere from $35 to like $1,000 as a like a super duper member, but the membership is not that bad. So Wilsonian could become a corporate member of the Friends of the African American Research Library. Just
I'll have to listen into that. I mean, I love it. Not to mention individual members. I'll speak for myself.
Be sure to check that out in Friends of Arlick and their website. Here's an to contribute in this way. This is such a such an important.
Oh, I can drop some stuff in the chat.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So I'd like to echo also that the awareness of the library, we still, believe it or not, have people that come in and say, are the books free here? And so, you know, it's still an awareness that people don't know that they can just get a library card for free.
Yeah.
And that's important, you know, exposure, because unfortunately not everyone was exposed to libraries when they were younger or and so forth. So I think that's really important. And the programming is always, you know, we love people to come online and join us. And we also want people to know that if our community has thoughts on what they'd like to have happen and see happen, we are open to suggestions for programming as well. So I think those are some important things, because when people are invested and projects are community driven, just like community archiving and so forth, I think you get more of a plug when people are more engaged.
That's great. I can't say how incredibly important libraries were for me growing up, and how, I mean, not just for getting me excited about learning and about reading, but it really just for building community. I mean, it was such a key space. And I mean, it's as public services are dwindled and continue to recede through a number of political reasons, right, that libraries remain such a beacon of power and hope. And I'm so grateful for that. Thank you. Yeah. I can't believe it. I'm looking at the time, Rebecca, and we're done.
I know. We're already like at 10:30 almost.
I know. Any last things you want to plug?
I've been dropping some links in the chat. I would like to say that we received an IMLS grant, a National Leadership Grant funded through the Laura Bush 21st Century Grant, to start a project that centers the work of Black collecting institutions, and also folks that are working in Black collecting institutions as it relates to the content that is being produced online related to Blackness. And so if we think about the archive and paper-based archives, however, we are in a digital age and a lot of things are being created and born digitally, like what does that mean for the archive for the future? And so this is a project that will bring these folks together who are working in Black collecting institutions to set a course to figure out how we want to be less passive about this, but to figure out a way to collectively start to web archive content that is out there that is related to the Black experience. So we are hosting a national forum on April 29th and 30th. I am dropping the press release in the chat, and it is a free event. We have some great people who are a part of the discussion, scholars, practitioners, content creators from online. It'll be just a really rich conversation about the next phase of what archives will be for the future. So hope to see you there if you're interested.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Ramona, were you going to add? If not, I'll wrap us up.
I'm good, thank you. I just want to, appreciate this call and us be able to, reach out. And we're looking forward to our project and working with you for sure.
Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you for saying that, Ramona. Thank you for the work of FIU and Wilsonian Public Digital Humanities Lab. But we're certainly happy and ready to start that project.
It's our honor.
It's entirely mutual. We're absolutely thrilled to be working with you. And I know that Julio and I will definitely attend that national forum and yeah, and we will spread the word as well. So thank you for all of the work that you do and all the work that's ahead.
Okay.
And on that note, thank you, audience, for joining us today and for listening in. Please visit us online at Twitter and Facebook, and to join us at the same time, same place, because I was wrong. We still have one more, last but not least, Coffee and Conversations coming next week. So I apologize to the Jewish Museum of Florida. We cannot wait to talk with you next week, and that will be the end of season 4. So we will see you there, and everyone have a wonderful and safe day. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.